It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
While most of the world is focusing on France right now and cheering on Porsche over at Le Mans, we are here at Virginia International Raceway for the first race of the weekend of the Porsche Cayman Series and the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America. I'm Joe Peak, joined by Ryan Marine and Riley Dickinson here today for today's race. Ryan, looking forward to seeing how they tackle this track.
Fantastic circuit here at VIR, 17 turns, 3.25 miles, high-speed sections, low-speed corners as well. Great passing opportunity into turn number 1 in the horseshoe, and you've got the famous roller coaster as well, maybe the most treacherous piece of racetrack anywhere on the continent. Wonderful place, lovely to be here, great weather as well, and I can't wait to get going.
And Riley, these drivers have discovered just how difficult this place is. I mean, do you see attrition being a factor in today's race, just keeping it on the island being an advantage?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is going to be a bit of a key, of course. You know, obviously to win the race first, you must finish. But this is definitely one of my favorite tracks in the country. Always enjoy coming here. So this is going to be a great race. Excited to see how things shake out here.
You can see them lined up on the pit lane, ready to go, waiting to be released for their pace laps here today. We'll go through that grid here in a moment. We have a couple of storylines on this one, Ryan. One of them being, of course, after qualifying, Alain Scalzo being sent to the back, and he was looking quick all weekend in testing and practice. I wonder what kind of excitement we'll get out of him.
I think it'll be fun to watch him for sure. He might be driving through a bit of that red mist after having fast times in practice and having the opportunity to start up towards the front and qualifying if those times were allowed to stick. Instead, he'll start at the back. This is a guy who's third in points in the Masters Championship. He's from Mont-Tremblant, Canada. He loves high-speed, high-commitment courses like his home track there at Mont-Tremblant. VIR certainly falls into that category as well. So let's keep an eye out. It's a bright orange car. We shouldn't have any trouble finding it as he makes his way up through the field.
That is for sure. You can see them as we pan down the line amongst the cars. Very hot conditions out here, and there's definitely a number of fast corners. What do you think the drivers will need to do, Riley, to kind of keep that rubber underneath them?
Yeah, well, I mean, tire management is going to be a big key to this race as well. I think, after the first few laps get under their belt, I think just managing the tire, making sure that they don't burn off, especially the rear tire with this car, is going to be very, very important. So we'll look to see probably the leaders try and build a bit of a gap and then probably, let everything kind of settle down and then just kind of manage the pace, and then probably it'll pick back up again there at the end. But, for all the drivers in the midfield trying to push towards the front, it's definitely going to be a quite interesting race to follow.
All right. I think we're going to be getting that signal pretty soon here to let them go. We are, of course, well into the season for the North American Series. We are into race number 7 here today. Race 7 and 8 is what we are doing this weekend with currently the drivers Ian Porter and Michael Clark leading the Pro-Am and the Masters category, respectively. But points-paying races, both races this weekend. After this one, they'll have a night to rest, come back tomorrow, and try and wrap it up and see how things shake out for that one. And, of course, we also have the GT3 Cup a little bit later on as we hear race control let us know that we're just about ready to be released for our pace lap out there. Ryan, we've got Ian Porter on pole for the first time since since I believe Sebring, you said earlier. Do you think he can convert it to yet another win?
It certainly has been the way for him, right? He won from pole both races there at Sebring, and he's got 4 wins on the season. So we'll keep an eye on him. There he is left of the screen, starts on pole. Next to Nick Schaefer, impressive young man in his first year of racing at this level. He's been quick in everything we've seen him in, coming off of a IMSA weekend last weekend at at Mid-Ohio. Carolyn Conda, who has been so impressive, her first season racing stateside, first season racing Porsches. She'll start next to Matt Jaffe, who had an impressive performance in qualifying, Joe.
Yeah, managed to put himself on the second row as we get to row 3, where Michael Clark will be chasing him for that Masters win. Evan Hinkle will be starting next to him, having joined up with that JDX Racing team. That takes us down into the 4th row for the start of this race. Lonnie Unser going to be starting next to Bill Finnick, who started actually with testing damaging the car. In fact, I think on our picture you can even see the damage on the left-hand side. But they got it fixed quick, and it's been ready to go since. Chris Hutter's going to be starting in 9th position today for Forward Motorsports, and then Bill Pelichewski is going to be running in 10th. Ryan?
Yeah, great qualifying effort from those two to start in the top 10. Jason Golan, it's a big weekend for the Golan family. His son is racing in USF Juniors here this weekend alongside Roland Crines out of the RS1 stable. Roland having a lot of fun here at VIR this weekend, as you would expect. In the next row of the grid, that's where you'll find Jim Johnson. He'll start next to Woody Witchard, a couple of Cayman Masters competitors that will start 13th and 14th, respectively.
And then that takes us back to row number 8, Rob Trollinger for Goldcrest Motorsports, starting back there alongside Sean McCaig from TPC Racing in the number 34 Cayman. Then you get to row 9 with Paige Morales and Rafa Martinez, both for Rafa Racing, of course. Both of them teammates out there and towards the back of the Pro-Am. Before you get Rob Trollinger in row number 10 and Daniel Ammon starting next to him for Vintage Racing Company. He's had a bit of an interesting weekend with a bit of damage on both cars at times. Thomas Bigany starts in 21st, showing up for the first time this season in the Porsche Sprint Challenge. Joseph Petkis is going to be next to him in 22nd position. You get down to the last couple, and then it's Tom Kopczynski and Alan Scalzo for our 24 cars taking part in today's race. They're already getting ready to head through the roller coaster and into Hogpen. You can see them now lined up side by side and ready to go. It is going to be 35 minutes plus 1 lap around here, and Ian Porter is going to lead them to the green flag. Let's see what it looks like down into turn 1, where it is extremely heavy braking. For the signal from the flagman. Getting close to that start line. They're holding them a long time here. 86 is ready to go, and he is on the throttle. Green flag is out as they head down into turn 1. Everybody fanning out to try to position themselves as they head towards the double apex. Right-hander coming under the brakes and into the turn. It looks like Ian is going to hold on to that lead.
Looks like a big move, though, for the second spot from the outside of the second row. Not quite sure who that was, but then that position just got swapped right back. Really good move there, coming back by Schaefer, I think, to get back up into that second spot. But pretty good jump from the second row guys.
Yeah, Nick Schaefer is definitely going to be hungry for that victory as they head through the snake. Now, this has mostly got to be single file through here. You can see a bit of dirt being kicked up as drivers get right up close to the edge of the track and up through the climbing S's after that one. Does look like it is pretty good at this point. Don't see any stragglers like they had a major off from there. But the lap is not over for the first time through.
Certainly not. Great start by Porter to build the big lead coming up through the S's for the first time. It was Conda who had the big move, was temporarily up into the second spot, but lost that position right back to Schaefer. Schaefer, who is so good with such limited experience, in fact, is packing in as many races as possible Was that a spin to the inside? We got a
It
car
looked
off
like
to
it.
the left there in Oak Tree, so a couple of cars in strife here in the early going.
And I believe that was Clark that we just saw by the side of the road, our championship leader. He kept saying he doesn't want to be jinxed by us, and maybe we just said it a few too many times out there. But it's still very early in the race. He could try and come back and fight for us. In the meantime, I believe we're on board with Martinez, who is coming up through the roller coaster, getting ready to see what other places he can pick up here late in the lap. No full course caution that we're hearing about yet. And Riley, it looks like you spotted something.
Yeah, it's the number 24 car is stuck off in the oak tree. That is going to be Joe Rizzo, unfortunately. And also, when we were on board with Martinez, it looked like there might have been a pass under yellow, so I'm sure race control will probably take a look at that as well. But yeah, a bit of a good start for the first half of the lap, and then maybe got a bit hectic there up at the oak tree turn.
Did seem to be the case on our track map. That 24 is still stationary. We might experience a full course yellow here.
Yeah, and Michael Clark just went by as well. He's fallen down the order. The Kelly Moss guys just went out to the front straightaway wall, just check the car, make sure everything's good with it. Hopefully all is well there with him. That's definitely been unfortunate for our championship points leader in Masters.
Michael will probably be one of the few hoping for a caution at this stage to bunch them back up. And in fact, there it is right now, Ryan.
Yeah, that's what Michael needed to get caught back up. It looks like Rizzo has not been able to continue on from the exit of Oak Tree. And so with that in mind, race control has sent out the safety car. Yellow flag is out. Oh, boy, tough start here for Joe Rizzo, who comes in, of course, coached by Spencer Pompelli. Really looking to have a good weekend here at VIR, but this is not off to a good start.
Well, it looks like last time across the line, that means that Jason Golan is now our leader in the Masters. Pelichowski gets bumped up into second. And how about Jim Johnson managing to bring himself into third in class and ninth overall?
A tremendous start for Jim. He's been loving this here, too. We saw him a couple of times this weekend, and he is just in awe of this place, of VIR. You talk to some drivers, and they absolutely love it. Others are a bit wary of the place. Riley, you're the reigning Carrera Cup champion. You've had a chance to race here a lot over the years. Attention right away?
It certainly is. It's like I said earlier, it's definitely one of my favorite tracks in the country. I would say it's easily in the top three of my favorite tracks. This place, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, it's very much similar in the fact that it's very tight, very technical. It really rewards, very precise driving. It's super easy to push over the limit, and obviously whenever something does go wrong, the consequences are quite massive, just with there not being a track limit. To speak. Yeah.
For someone like Michael Clark, who's going to have to do some work to get back to the front, where can you make passes around this joint?
Yeah, so turn one's obviously probably the easiest place to make a pass, but you can certainly make a pass over in the Oak Tree turn, over in turn 11, turn 12, and also down the back straightaway into 13 in the entry to roller coaster. Those are probably the three best places to pass. First lap, maybe you can have some good fortune. Maybe a hole opens up here or there, but probably just really those three spots are probably the best spots to try and make something happen.
Now, we haven't seen picture quite yet of what state that 24 is in, so we don't know how difficult of a extraction this is going to be. Hopefully it will be quick, and we'll get to go racing relatively soon out here. But the pace car has already picked up the field. Ian Porter, your leader, with Nick Schaefer in second. Caroline Conda running in third while we pace around. Lonnie Unser moves up to fourth overall. I don't know that she actually gained any positions in class. In one of the rare situations, it seems like a majority of the field is actually split by class, because typically, Ryan, they're heavily intermixed in this series.
Which you would expect, right? The car is the same. The only difference in the two classes is effectively the age of the driver. Lonnie qualified 7th, 5th in class, so she is up one spot in class. But most important is all the out-of-class cars are out of the way now. She can put her head down and go chase Caroline Conda for the final step of the podium. Coming off of her first podium of the season, Lonnie Unser, the last time we saw her on track at Circuit of the Americas.
Now, Riley, we were talking to Nick a little bit earlier this weekend, and he mentioned something that I wasn't aware of, that he has not actually had a professional win yet under his belt, despite the speed that we've seen from him. Is there an actual tangible difference between, looking for that first win and after you've finally gotten over that hump? Do you notice that as a driver?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be lying if you said that it wasn't a little bit of pressure that you feel on yourself, a little bit of pressure on your shoulders. So certainly, for Nick, he's shown a lot of speed, and it's interesting that you guys mentioned that. I would have assumed that he had already won a race by now. I don't know Nick that well, but I certainly now know his name because of last weekend, like you mentioned, at Mid-Ohio for the Michelin Pilot race. Him and Jared Thomas did a fantastic job, and we were all certainly kind of a bit confused or just wondering where this Nick Schaefer kid came from. So, definitely kudos to him for the weekend that he had last weekend at Mid-Ohio. Of course, myself, I was racing against him with the Kelly Moss with Riley Motorsports crew, number 91 Porsche RS. Is going to get that breakthrough win. It's definitely be a bit of pressure lifted off his shoulders. No
I shared your curiosity. I knew nothing about him until he popped up, and we went and found him this weekend. So he's a young man from Salt Lake City, Utah. Got started doing some club-level racing with his father, moved into WRL last year, and then went all in this year. He's doing MX-5 Cup. He's doing some Cayman racing here, of course, and also in IMSA. But it's all about to come to a screeching halt for 2 years because he told us he's on a mission trip for his church, a 2-year mission to Quito, Ecuador, starting next month. So he's trying to pack in as many races as he can, gain some experience so that when he gets back from Ecuador, he's ready to go.
Yeah, selfishly, I'm a little bit happy to hear that because I was starting to get a little bit worried, but no, good for him. I'm sure he's a great kid. Certainly handles himself well around the paddock from what I've heard. So, super great kid. Wish him all the best, and hopefully we're able to see him out there soon.
In 2 years.
In 2 years.
Well, as we watch the pictures of Oak Tree, it does seem like it's taken them a bit to get this car going. They're still got the door open. I hope the driver's already out. I'm not sure how big of an impact it was, but the fact that the car is still there does not bode well. So we'll cross our fingers that it is just some sort of logistical setback that they've run into. Wonder if it was just simply cars kind of tripping over one another just because of how difficult it is going through that corner, Riley.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly gets pretty tight there on the exit, and obviously between 11 and 12, Oak Tree, it's kind of a double apex corner, if you will, so it can certainly get a bit bottled up there, and hopefully, I don't know if this was what exactly happened, but we see that Matt Jaffe, he fell down to 10th. He was starting P2 in class. Now I believe he's P4 in class or P5 in class, so maybe that was related, but if I had to guess, probably with Joe, maybe there's a suspension damage or something to not allow that car to roll so easily. I'm sure he's fine. Obviously, if there was a big impact, we would see a lot more activity over in that area. So I'm sure he's fine out of the car and all is well. They're just struggling to probably get up on the back of the truck with the maybe some suspension damage. Another
update on that incident: Roland Crines is currently in pit lane, and I see the hood is up right now. The crew is definitely got their heads and actually their feet inside of it right now. So something is not good over in that pit for the number 19, and they're having to do some serious work, hoping, I'm guessing, to try and get that thing back out on track before the race is over. But I believe he's already 2 laps down, unfortunately, from the leaders. So he's got a compromised first race, and from here it's going to be a bit of a rough weekend for him. Still have 25 minutes to go, roughly, plus 1 lap here in this first race. Let's cross our fingers, eyes, and toes that we go back racing soon.
I hope so, too. You talked about Roland Crines, and it's been a really good 2024 for Roland. He got his first win alongside his son in SRO competition earlier this year. I think that was at Sebring, and that was a big, big moment for him, a chance to share the car with his son as well and to pick up the victory. His son then got promptly promoted. He had been derogated to a bronze FIA driver rating, and so now he finds himself a silver. So suddenly they're going to be a Pro-Am lineup instead of an Am lineup, and I'm not sure they were super thrilled about that. But I'll say Austin, his son, has been really, really quick this year in SRO.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Austin, he also was at Mid-Ohio last
Yes.
weekend. He did a fantastic job as well, so quick shout-out to him and his dad, Roland. They're great people. Definitely another good father-son duo in the paddock, and another great father-son duo in the paddock would be Jason Golan and Brady Golan. You mentioned that Brady's racing the USF Juniors. Jason, right now, he managed to find his way up into P1 in class. I know just because I'm with Kelly Moss this weekend, I know he had a bit of a tricky qualifying this morning. He was a little bit disappointed himself, so happy to see him up in P1 in class, 7th overall, and hopefully for his sake he's able to keep it up there, because I know him and Bill Pelichewski are going to have a good little battle here.
Without spilling state secrets, was it just didn't quite put the lap together? Was there some traffic? What was the story there for Jason?
Yeah, said he got a bit of traffic, and also said he made a couple of mistakes as well on laps that coulda, shoulda, would have been a nice flyer. Said he also maybe went off track a little bit as well. So just a bit of everything kind of happened in the session. Same thing actually for the GT3 Cup qualifying. Just seemed like a bit of a mess. Everyone was a bit out of sequence. So yeah, it was a bit of a hectic qualifying for both categories. But yeah, hopefully for the races in the GT3 Cup today and then also tomorrow should be good. But the Cayman race should be quite exciting here to finish it out.
Now, one of the storylines we were following was Alain Scalzo and whether or not he could climb from the back of the field. He's actually 17th. Now, that is with a caveat that some of those cars that he's passed were involved in that incident, most likely. But there were still a few in there, and we only had a lap and a half of racing. So the 26 was not wasting time.
No surprise there. We knew Alain would be quick. He has been all weekend long, like we said, and I suspect he was none too pleased about having to start out back when the pace had been good all throughout the course of this weekend. I'm sure you've been there too, Riley, where you're starting out a position. Is a little bit of anger a good motivator?
It's definitely a good motivator. Whenever you have, let's say, the call that you have to start in the back, obviously the first instinct is, a bit of anger. You're obviously frustrated, but then once you kind of get over that and you turn it into, some fuel to the fire, if you will, and actually get excited about the fact you're going to have a pretty fun race going from the back to the front, potentially. It always makes for good racing. Obviously the results typically aren't the best just because on paper it looks like, okay, we started in the back, we finished maybe in the top quarter of the field. It doesn't look the best, but obviously, in your heart of hearts, that you gave it the best that you could, and it was always going to be the most fun that you could have had in a car. And, some of my favorite racing memories are coming from the back to the front, having those good battles. So, yeah, all good stuff.
I'm sure he's going to use that himself as motivation as well as enjoy his time here. Now, I was trying to see if we had the lights off on the pace car, and it doesn't look like it.
The lights are out.
Oh, no, They are. Excuse me. Good catch. Thank you, Riley. It looks like we are going racing once again. And there it is. Green flag is out. Ian Porter flashes past us, leading Nick Schaefer and Caroline Conda down into turn one. Caroline with a bit of a threat from behind as Lonnie Unser looks down to the inside, but siphons back into single file.
And Hutter, in turn, was taking a look to the inside of Lonnie Unser, so she couldn't be totally committed to the attack. She had to play a little bit of defense as well. Behind, you find Evan Hinkle making his series debut for the season, and then Jason Golan, who's got his hands full with Pelichewski, Jaffe, Johnson, and Bigany. They're all actually, Bigany's not in that mix. He's a little bit further down the order, but still really good battle there at the front of the Masters class.
Yeah, Golan has to watch out. In fact, it is very close behind him. That bright orange car of Bill on them.
Yeah, certainly could. That's going to be the goal here, try to build that advantage if at all possible. Right now, it is just a dogfight in the mid-pack of this field. You can see it on the track map. Everybody all bunched together here on the restart coming out of Oak Tree. And out to Madison Avenue, 4,000 feet in length. One of the longest straightaways you'll find on a road course here in North America. Great place to let these Caymans stretch their legs, but then it funnels into a tight, twisty section we call the roller coaster.
I saw Scalzo in there on the tail of somebody coming up Madison Avenue, so I wonder if he'll be able to snatch that by the time they hit the roller coaster. Doesn't look like he quite made it past here from this angle behind him, though. A little bit of side-by-side action. And, Caroline Conda was poking her nose on Nick Schaefer coming down towards the hog pen. Can she stay that close down the main straight?
Right there in the slipstream coming in front of our position. Conda right there behind Schaefer, who's forced to go on the defensive. we talked to that team, and they told us they really had something click, not just with Carolyn getting used to this race car, but just the communication, as she's not a native English speaker. She's from Le Mans in France, and trying to get that communication from her to the engineers to help them get that car set up. That's always a challenge no matter what, but then you throw the language barrier in the mix, and it makes it that much more complicated.
Yeah, I'm over here laughing because I know from myself with the Kelly Moss group, the last couple of years, 2022 and 2023, our engineer, Chiel Boss, he's Dutch.
Okay.
Right? He's very, very direct and has a bit of an accent going, and it's not a language barrier, but there's definitely some phrases and some things that are definitely different. But it's always a bit of a tricky thing to do, especially if there is that language barrier, but she's obviously doing a fantastic job right now pressuring Nick Schaefer for the P2 position overall, so we'll see if she's able to get it done.
Getting a word from race control, the incident between cars 24 and 69 will be reviewed post-race. That is, of course, Rizzo and Ammon that I think were involved in that opening incident, so no surprise there that we'll see them have it reviewed. And coming down the backstretch, in fact, that almost looked like Ammon, but I think he just kind of emerged amidst this pack as the green fell. So I don't know that he's actually racing for position on this one. So into the roller coaster they go once again. Thankfully, we've stayed green since that initial delay.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. Ammon did spend a couple of laps in the pits, so he is not fighting for position at this point. That's a tough place to be released right into the maelstrom of the mid-pack of this field. That's super competitive to begin with. Porter continuing to build that advantage. It's up over a second, but the fight is on for second place, Joe. Carolyn Conda all over Nick Schaefer.
Once again, she's going to try and stick her nose in, this time almost to the inside as she tries to outbrake him, but just not enough there. Now she switches back round the outside as they go through the horseshoe. You saw the correction here as we ride on board, so she is on the limit of these tires, but still cannot find her way past.
This is NASCAR Bend right here, really difficult part of the racetrack. This section here is all about trying to set yourself up for the run out of this next sequence and into those climbing S's and Snake right into tire tracks. Carolyn Conda stalking the Utah native Nick Schaefer.
As they exit out of the Snake, now they wind their way under the bridge towards the climbing S's. She wasn't quite as good on the throttle getting out of that sequence. Back and forth they bound through this one, taking a lot of curbs, setting themselves up for South Bend before it flies over this blind crest. Can't see a thing, as you can see from here on board, before finally it comes down into the oak tree, setting herself up. Can she get this done as she tries for the exit, Riley?
Yeah, she's certainly applying the pressure, no doubt. It seems like her car is a little bit better at this phase of the race. It seems like Nick, he's struggling a little bit with the confidence in the car, just getting it down to the apex. Caroline, she's able to have supreme confidence in the car, just making sure she's hitting all of her points. Turned in just slightly early there for the oak tree, compromised her exit just a little bit, but no, she's certainly applying the pressure there. We see she's able to outbrake Nick just a little bit, so she's definitely pushing quite hard right now.
You talk about her confidence, and we were watching trackside earlier this weekend, and her level of confidence coming through those climbing S's, it was visual, just standing trackside. And she's got him lined up right here, Joe. This is the closest
in line, maybe looking for a better exit as the car does not like that first corner. That's the second lap in a row, Riley. We've seen her really have to fight it.
Yeah, and the problem is that if you're pushing so hard behind another car, it's really, really easy to overheat your tire, especially the rear tire on this Cayman GT4. So, her job right now is just to continue to apply that pressure, but obviously manage the rear tire so she's able to continue applying that pressure as much as she can. So, she's doing a great job, especially in the higher speed corners here, like we see through the S's. It's, like I've said before, one of the greatest tracks in the country, so it's always good fun to have a go around here.
And apologies for fans of the Masters class. We haven't covered that recently. It's worth noting that Pelichowski has taken the lead off of Jason Golan. So the 62 up at the front, and I think that might be, if he can stay there, his first win this season.
It would be, for sure. We're on board with Bill right now. His best finish is a second in race 2 at Circuit of the Americas. He comes in 5th in points. but doing a really nice job here at VIR, taking that lead from Golan, and it's about a 0.7 of a second advantage that he has over second place in that class. So by no means comfortable, but he is out in front. Oh, and we got a problem here. That's Paige Morales, who is off.
That looks to be, I think, at the end of the climbing S's. I believe that's not going to be a small one. Now, she is moving in the car.
Yeah, that's over. Looks to be over in turn 9.
And she's trying to get it moving. If she can get it going.
To continue.
There's the car from above. I think if they come back around in time that they find her still there, they're going to have to throw that yellow again, but it's creeping backwards, so it's under its own power. That's the good news, Ryan.
Yeah, that's good to see. Hopefully she can get that car out of there. Riley, you were shaking your head, though. What are you picking up watching this?
No, I was just anticipating it to go full course yellow here. It's definitely quite unfortunate. She's trying to get it going here, but maybe she's able to get going. We'll see. But yeah, full course yellow just came out. That's unfortunate.
It's our second of this race with about 13 minutes left on the clock. Now, this car, like we said, is moving, though it seems like she's having some extreme trouble trying to get it out from where the position it's in. Not sure if that's due to some sort of suspension brake or drive brake in the car, but she's only been able to crawl a couple feet back and forth and has now come to a halt once again.
You can kind of see the tire tracks off into the tire wall, so it hit quite heavily on the left front, so most likely broke something in the steering. So she's probably struggling quite a bit right now just to get the car moving, and you can see on the end car. But, yeah, quite unfortunate. She was having a really good race. That's unfortunate to see, no doubt.
I wonder if that maybe just broke a toe link or something and the front tires aren't pointing the same direction for her, and that might explain why it's proving so difficult. But, yeah, you can see where those tires, I think, were moved a bit as she bounced off of them and kind of fell into place. Hopefully this is, again, going to be a case of easily plucked out and they can get going once more. So just an update. Ian Porter leading with Nick Schaefer trailing behind. Caroline Conda still in third. That's your Pro-Am podium right now, same as it was after the first caution. But the Masters have definitely changed, as we recently reported. Bill Pelichewski, your new leader in the 62. Jason Golan sitting second in that category with Matt Joffe right now in third place. If it stays yellow like it is, then we won't see any changes for that. So if you're Bill Pelichewski or Ian Porter, you're kind of hoping we don't go back to green.
The rest of them, though, I think would love to see a restart, and count me amongst that group as well. I'd love to see this get back to green flag if at all possible. Like you were saying, Riley, really tough break here for Paige, who is drinking from the fire hose this year. First year of racing, and you jump right into Porsche Sprint Challenge. This is not for the faint of heart, let's say.
No, it's certainly not. Then obviously you have the car that right now it's unrestricted, right? It's typically this car, whenever it races in, we'll call it open competition, it has a restrictor on it. There's a BOP, if you will, that's involved. So for these cars to be unrestricted, it's definitely quite a lot to get a handle on. But I will say, just want to have a quick shout out to Porsche themselves as a whole, just creating such a safe car. You see the tire wall obviously doing its job, but the car as well doing its job whenever you do have a high impact situation like that, high speed impact rather. So it's definitely a great car. I've been able to have a few goes at it this year so far. Going to have some more later on this year. It's a fantastic car. It's a great piece of machinery. It's always a pleasure to drive, and especially being able to drive on tracks such as VIR, but also other tracks around the country that Porsche Sprint Challenge goes to is definitely quite a nice championship to be a part of.
We could hear in the background that was race control of Daniel Ammon. It'll be a post-race equivalency, they said, to a drive-through penalty, because I just saw him come down pit lane. I'm not sure if that was him retiring the car or just kind of driving through and letting everybody by. But we'll continue to watch here from our drone cam as they try to take Paige's car back out of harm's way to get us going with at least a little bit of racing before we are done with our first race of the weekend. You just heard Riley talking about the safety of the cars. My mind goes back to Barber, where we actually had a car roll over there, and driver was completely okay. It looked vicious if you see any of the footage of it, but Driver completely walked out fine. Peterson, I got to talk to him, and he didn't even seem fazed by all of it.
Yeah, Jake's definitely a great kid. He, of course, was also with Kelly Moss, and that was in the GT3 Cup category. So, yeah, that was definitely a scary moment, no doubt. I remember watching from one of the corners kind of across from the track and seeing that happen. And I remember like, oh, wow, that was, the floor of the car. I actually hadn't seen one up like that really ever. So, just again, another testament to the safety of these vehicles, the seats, the belts, everything that needs to do its job, obviously will do its job. All the crumple zones is definitely a huge piece of what makes this car safe. And, all the cars within Porsche, not just the Cup car, but also the GT4s and obviously up to the GT3Rs. And I'm sure also the Porsche 963 right now, they're very, very safe. It's obviously extremely important to keep the driver safe. And, myself as a driver, knowing that whenever you step into the car, it's unfortunately not if, it's when something goes wrong. Just having that little bit of confidence that says, okay, whenever something does end up happening, you know that you're going to be able to be safe in that car and ultimately be able to feel fine after the fact.
Well, a couple of times we've described this track as being old school, and I know, Ryan, you had mentioned that your experience here in a variety of series has been that you seem to always see a lot of accidents here. And unfortunately, our first race is kind of paying testament to your knowledge of this place. So we've had 2 yellows already in this first one of the weekend. Let's hope that we don't get a whole lot more and that they're able to turn it around. But it's amazing how quickly this place can bite.
Yeah, it is. It's a treacherous spot, that's for sure. But that's part of the reason it's so revered. To extract lap time out of this place, you've got to be right on the edge, and there's risk that comes with that. But, you talk to all the legendary drivers that have raced here, and that's the thing that they love so much. We all know the quote from Paul Newman, if there is heaven on earth, it's VIR. But I actually like a lesser-known quote from Carroll Shelby, who said, 1 lap at VIR is like 100 at Watkins Glen. What do you think of that, Riley?
I would completely agree with
Really?
Mr. Shelby.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm not in the
Completely
habit
agree.
of disagreeing with Mr. Shelby. But
Yeah, no. It's. I mean, like I said before, it's a very tight technical facility. It's so rewarding whenever you get the lap time done properly. Qualifying here, there's nowhere better. Maybe Road Atlanta, but this is definitely a very close second in my mind. Personally for me, Road Atlanta is my odds-on favorite, but this track, like I said, it's very, very close second. There's so many technical bits to this track. It's fast, it's flowing, but like we see on board right now, going through the tight and technical section, more so in the low speed, not necessarily in the high speed section, it's definitely quite rewarding. And whenever it all goes right, it's one of the best feelings, but whenever it goes wrong, it will certainly bite you.
the amazing thing is how close we came to losing this place, right? It opened in 1957. It closed in 1974 and reverted back to farmland until it was purchased by Harvey Siegel and Connie Nyholm, who reopened it in the year 2000. And so much credit to them. They went, Harvey in particular, who had memories of coming here as a youngster watching racing, he wanted to bring that back to folks again. And he and the people who redeveloped the property, they went and they found the original track layout, and to the inch, they did their best to follow that when they recreated this racetrack in the year 2000, and thank goodness they did. It's a true gem.
Absolutely it is. And we just saw Page's car getting hauled off, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we're able to go green next time by. We'll see if the safety car lights are able to come off, and we're able to get a nice clean restart here and finish under green. I
did hear race control. They announced that lights are off, and we are going racing for, it'll be about 4 minutes remaining. That should translate to about 3 laps, since remember, it is 35 minutes plus 1 lap the way they run these. So we should get some time to see some more action on this one. But now, I mean, we had, about 6 or 7 laps of green flag racing? I mean, the urgency is going to be there if you are out of position.
And you don't have to worry about your tires at this point. There's no conservation. With the amount of yellow that we've had, it is push, push, push on these Yokohamas. We'll see what they're made of here very, very soon as the pace car starts to accelerate away already and leave the field in the control of the race leader, Ian Porter, who's looking for a 5th win on the season.
He's already leading the championship, but he likes to dominate. He likes to win. and he wants to do it once again. It's looked good so far. He's ran away both times that we've seen Green Flag Racing. As they exit out of Hogpen, it looks like he's actually already on it. Yes, indeed. Flying down the main straight, past the start-finish line. It is Porter, Schaefer, Conda as they come back to turn one. Is this Conda's chance she's been waiting for? It looks like it might be. She once again tries, but is unable to get the overlap as they enter into the horseshoe.
Schaefer's really good late on the brakes and just does not leave any opening to come under any kind of significant attack. I did see Lonnie Unser was being attacked for that fourth spot. It was Evan Hinkle who was looking pretty strong in his first race of the season. Looked like
Oak Tree once again as they hit their marks through the double apex right-hander. Schaefer actually looking strong this time instead of it being him under attack. He's the one trying to see if he can go onto the offensive.
so far so good for Nick Schaefer, hanging tough in that second spot, looking for his first win in any motorsport category he's taken part in. He sits second right now, about a half a second behind Ian Porter, who continues to show the way. He's led every lap of this race so far. Then it's Carolyn Conda, Lonnie Unser, Evan Hinkle, Chris Hutter's there still in that sixth spot. Pelichowski holding tough. In fact, he's got a bit of a margin in that battle for the lead in the Masters class. The fight is for second and third, with Jaffe starting to reel in Golan.
He's making him feel it, I think, at this point. We're riding on board with Pelichowski. Remember, he doesn't really need to try and pass Hutter in front of him. He just has to keep himself distant from the chasing Jason Golan, who I think looked like he might be under threat when he flashed past us. We can't quite see from this camera angle, though, at this point. Oh, and that was another correction we saw bounding over the curbs there for Bill as we got a yellow flag.
Turn one. We've got an incident at turn one.
And I think that may be Scalzo.
Yeah, I think you're right, in the orange car. He was on the comeback drive.
Incident at turn one has cleared. Yep. Car 15 and 26 were involved.
Cars are on their way.
Peter Atwater, the other car involved. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not right. It would be... Well, I'm not sure who the other one would be. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We'll try and see if we can dig that one up. But, yeah, it definitely looks like that was Scalzo leaving the scene of the crime as more cars just throwing up that red clay up into the air through these dry conditions all weekend long. That start-finish line. Out of the Oak Tree once more, it is Ian Porter leading Schaefer, leading Conda, Riley.
Yeah, I believe they actually are going to have 2 laps to go. I think it's going to be very minimal time left on the clock, maybe just under 10 seconds, but I believe we're going to have 2 laps to go here, so give a chance to the drivers that are maybe not in the class position that they like, give them an extra chance to make something happen here.
So they were reporting that Scalzo is stopped on track now.
Let's look for an orange overlap, please. If you cannot continue, let's look for an orange overlap.
So they're looking for basically one of the orange barriers, I believe. Or no, the orange exit areas that they've got on the green barriers. And he is clear. So that is great news. They're going to be able to stay racing here. And you're right. Good call, Riley. It is 2 laps to go.
That's not what Ian Porter wanted to see. He would have been just fine if the white flag had come out. But that said, he's built a nice, comfortable lead at 1.2 seconds. Then it's another 1.7 seconds back to Carolyn Conda. Nick Schaefer has really settled in nicely in that third spot. Lonnie Unser, Evan Hinkle fighting for 4th and 5th ahead of Hutter. But Pelichowski, Golan, and Jaffe, those 3 linked together as they have been pretty much this whole race. they're going to have some fun war stories to swap at the Prost later on tonight.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And obviously those three, they're all teammates with one another over at Kelly Moss. So I'm sure the team down on the pit lane right now, they're probably chewing some fingernails, if you want to call it that. But no, great race for them. Super cool to see. Hopefully they're able to finish out like that.
That gap, you can see, is much, much wider now between Pelichowski and Golan. Bill running a fantastic race so far, just needs to wrap this one up, and he'll get his first win of the season. Look at this gap that also Ian Porter is starting to build. Last time at the line, it was about 1.2 seconds, but that looks much larger than that to me as they fly by the South Paddock.
One story in the Masters class we should clean up a little bit is Michael Clark. Remember, he had the off early in the going. He's the points leader coming in. He's done a pretty good job to recover. He's up to 7th in class, and he's putting pressure on Tom Kopczynski right now for the 6th spot. With the 1 lap left, I'm not sure there are any other positions in play for him, but at least he can get potentially that one more position and try and salvage something on what has been a disappointing day.
I'm pretty sure we're never going to hear the end of it from him next time we talk to him.
It was all you, Joe.
Yeah,
I kept my mouth shut for once in my life.
I'll take the blame for that one. And watching them come down the main straight. White flag is out for Ian Porter. I tell you what, Chris Hutter might actually have to worry about Pelichowski. He's getting very close to the rear bumper of that number 81. The good news is, as long as he's not under pressure from those behind, he doesn't really have too much impetus to try and make that overtake.
That's a tough balance to strike, right? When you're fighting a car that's not in your class, but so the pass might not really mean anything in the long term, but you want that buffer or you don't want to get held up when you've got someone chasing you.
Exactly. I mean, for this situation with it being the white flag, Bill, he has a bit of a gap behind, so probably not the best decision to try and create some sort of battle, which is ultimately going to push him back into, at this situation, Jason Golan. But, if there was maybe, let's say, 10, 20, 30 minutes left to go in the race, certainly trying to get that buffer between yourself and another car in class behind is certainly the thing to do. But, Bill's done a great job to put himself a gap between him and Jason behind. So, great race for him. Super happy for that. Hopefully he's able to get it through clean here.
Here we come through the Oak Tree corner for the last time in this race. Top three have definitely separated significantly more than we had seen previously in this race. Lonnie Unser just off that podium once again. She finally got her first one the last time out in Texas at Circuit of the Americas. But they're getting ready to wrap this one up. The first race certainly saw plenty of excitement and some storylines developing now that we didn't have before, with drama out on the circuit. Into Hogpen, Ian Porter has wanted to continue to collect these first place trophies, and he's about to get another for the mantle. Hopefully he's got enough space as he continues to rack them up, because Ian Porter is your winner in the Pro-Am class in the Cayman race. Pelichowski comes to the line, and Pelichowski finally gets his first win as he crosses the start-finish line in the Masters. Joffe going to come home in second place. Golan got overtaken there somewhere in the last couple laps.
Wow. It's a big change late in the going. Good for Joffe, who has a race win to his name already this year back at Sebring. Now, how far up did Clark get? He did get around Kopczynski, but he'll have to settle for 6th in class. Tough for a guy who's not been off the podium in quite some time.
Yeah, tough for Michael. He obviously had a bit of a rough one there at the beginning of the race, but I saw him whenever he came through. There was quite a bit of damage to the front end of his car, so obviously whatever happened, he incurred a bit of damage, but for him to still finish the race and get some good points for the championship is definitely very valuable and quite important for him. So obviously I know he's going to be disappointed with that, but a 6th place finish is much better than a DNF.
Well, let's go through some of those unofficial results here. We do have the podium ceremonies coming up after this, so definitely don't go away. Ian Porter, your winner over Nick Schaefer once again. Caroline Conda continuing on her impressive run of podiums, but only a 3rd today over Lonnie Unser, who takes P4. Evan Hinkle showing up and putting his stamp on things, a top 5 in his first race in that number 77 over Chris Hutter in 6th. Then it's Bill
The incident
Pelichewski
between cars 26
finishing in
and
7th
15
today, but
has been
winning
reviewed.
in the Masters
Car
class. Matt
26,
Jaffe was second
incident
within those Masters as
responsibility.
Jason
Post-race
Golan will
time
round out your
equivalent
podium.
drive
Jim
through.
Johnson,
Car
I believe,
26,
with what
drive
might
through.
be his best finish of the season there, 4th in class and 10th overall. Woody Witchard was 11th with Michael Clark, climbing back up to 12th in the end. Tom Kopczynski was in P13. Bill Finnick managed 14th today. Rafa Martinez in P15. Trollinger in the 16th spot. Thomas Bigany makes his arrival with a P17 finish. Sean McCaig was behind him in 18th. Petkus 19th. And Scalzo, after all his hard work was undone, wound up in 20th. This was a great one, Ryan. As we said, it's not done yet by any stretch of the imagination, but that was quite the start.
It was. We had fireworks, that's for sure. We have some hot tempers, I think it's safe to say, after this one. But that said, for those that had a bad day today, the good news is it's a pretty short wait, and then they get to do it again tomorrow. So that's the way that things shake up here. And you know what? Joe was right about Jim Johnson. He did, in fact, get his best finish of the season, 4th place, improving on a couple of 6th-place finishes from earlier in the year. And he also picked up the Apexin Award for moving up the most positions in today's race. So that'll make Jim a happy guy.
Absolutely will. Absolutely will. And, yeah, big congratulations to Ian Porter for the win. Obviously, we didn't really talk about him a whole lot just because he cleared off on his own little world out there in first. But huge congrats to him and the JDX team. You know, they've been working quite hard this year. I know Ian's going to be quite happy with that. And also big congratulations to Kelly Moss in the Masters podium sweep, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So pretty cool story for them. I know, we saw them go out to the front straightaway. They're definitely quite happy. Obviously, I know I'm a bit biased because I'm a Kelly Moss guy, but just got to give them a shout out and give credit where credit's due. But yeah, great race. Like you said, a bit of fireworks, but I think overall it was a pretty good race, and hopefully to see another good one tomorrow.
You're here coaching this weekend, but when will we see you racing next?
Next weekend at Watkins Glen for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Yeah, going to be again in the number 91 Porsche GT4 RS with Kelly Moss, Riley Motorsports, myself, and Michael McCarthy. We're doing that for the full season this year. Had a good one last time out in Mid-Ohio, and looking forward to another good result next weekend at Mid-Ohio. Watkins Glen.
We wish you the best of luck there, that's for sure. He's the reigning Carrera Cup champion, is also a Porsche Motorsport North America selected driver. Riley Dickinson, thanks for spending some time with us on the broadcast today. Congratulations to our podium finishers and race winners. We're going to step aside here for a couple of minutes, and when we come back, Joe Peak will have the podium celebration from Race 1 at VIR.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com. It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
All right, it's time for our podium ceremonies for the Cayman's race. Starting off with the Cayman Masters. Finishing third in the number 1, Jason Golan. Then P2 driving the number 9, Matt Jaffe. And finally, our winner today, his first victory of the season in the number 62 Tang car, Bill Pelichewski. Bill, congratulations on the win. Obviously, there's a bit of a chaotic race at times, so what was it like inside the car trying to deal with everything happening?
I mean, it's a very heads-up track, and you've got to be prepared for whatever might happen, so that's the important thing, and I would just like to thank Kelly Moss for preparing the car so well, and also Andrew Davis, my coach, for getting me prepped for this weekend. So thank you, everyone.
Once you had that lead, did you feel any nerves about that late yellow that it would be difficult to hold on to, or did you feel confident about your pace?
I felt pretty good about the pace, frankly. And, you know, I thought I managed the pace and gap, so I kind of was managing that, so I was pretty happy with that. So no issues.
Finally, one less serious question, a question that's been on my mind this season. Why Tang on the car?
You get to ask Andy from Kelly Moss, because he came up with it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And we went with it. So I remember Tang in the 60s for the Apollo mission. So there you go. Definitely a throwback.
It is indeed, and I definitely drank plenty of it, but that was our winner, Bill Pelichewski. Let's hold up our trophies, show them off for the cameras. And of course, with it being nice and hot out, let's spray some champagne! That was our podium finishers in the Porsche Cayman category. in the Masters. That, of course, takes us to our Apexon Award. This is for the hardest charger in the race. Today, our Apexon Award winner is the driver of the number 88, Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson taking home the Apexon Award for race number 1. That brings us to the Cayman Pro-Am podium finishers. In third, it's the number 84, Caroline Conda. In second, driving the number 70, Nick Schaefer. And our winner today in the number 86, Ian Porter. Ian, congratulations. Like we were just talking about with the Masters podium, it kind of was a hectic race going up to racing to green flag racing, then back down to speed for the yellows. Does that mess with you when you're in the car?
A little bit. It's like all your hard work it sort of goes to waste, but it was a little bit different this time. Over here, I see you're all right. That was a big hit from what I saw. So in that scenario, and in any scenario, as long as someone's okay, it's fine.
Well, we've talked a lot about how this track is a little bit unforgiving. How much margin was that causing you to have to leave out there?
Not much. What practice is for. You got to push the limits in practice. You got to constantly push yourself in the car and discover those limits. And, you know, sometimes you're going to go like over it or under it, but you need to know them no matter what for the races.
Well, congratulations on your latest win. That is our victor, Ian Porter. Let's hold up those trophies and show them off for the cameras. And with race 1 over, it's time to spray the champagne. That's our podium finishers for the Cayman Pro-Am class. We'll be back with more racing here at Virginia International Raceway with the GT3 Cup category coming your way in just a couple hours.